Dia div, agus fáilte go dia, Terra Incogweirdos However. Hello, and welcome to Terra Incogweirdos, my friends. So good to see you guys today. So today I'm going to talk about scrying and empathy, and my first experiences with both. This will be my third time recording this video. First time I overshared, talk a little bit about that. Second time I tried to film outside today, and it is a burn day, and apparently every person within a 100-mile radius is burning, and the valley, there's literally ash falling out of the sky. It's definitely not a wildfire, it's just local burning out in the rural countryside, Oregon. Okay, so oversharing, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so when I first recorded this video and I was explaining to you what happened to me the first time I scryed, which is a form of divination where you either you gaze into a mirror that has black painted on the underside, or a bowl of water, or a crystal ball, or something reflective, a lake, anything like that works for scrying. So the first time I scryed, and the first time I told you the story about scrying, I gave you too much information. It was an extremely traumatic experience for me, and I'm pretty sure it is the impetus of my trauma over animal harm. And I shared too much about that, and I shared too much about the harm that happened to the person involved in my scrying. And what I just 100% my personal unsolicited opinion that I've kind of come to over the years. It took me a long time to get here, and I often wonder if it's because I'm autistic or just not quick on the uptake or what, but I think sometimes when you share too many details of a traumatic experience to anyone other than, let's say, like a mental health professional or a person that kind of plays that role in your life, that you run the risk of traumatizing the person you're talking to. And I do believe that I stepped over that line. And it's just something that I've learned that is not necessary. It is completely fine to explain a traumatic situation, but I believe it's incumbent upon the teller of the story or the incident to make sure that you tell it in a way that does not harm the person you're telling it to, because they may take that visual or those words forward with them into their heart, and it may become a problem for them, something that they can't dispel, that makes them sad and unhappy. So that's my unsolicited 2 cents on oversharing. My life's been a lot better since I've become more sensitive to that. I'm still not 100% there. I don't know that I ever will be, because it is, being sensitive to social cues is really a big part of being autistic, and it can be worked on. So always a work in progress, okay? At least it's the way it is for me. Always evolving, at least trying to, anyway. Okay, so my story about scrying and what happened to me when I was a little kid. So the scrying incident happened right before my 5th birthday. It was springtime, and I was standing in my front door looking out on my lawn, and 3/4 of the way down the lawn towards the road, I could see this like silvery kind of glimmer, and I couldn't figure out what it would be because there was like nothing there, unless somebody had dropped something shiny, which was very exciting. So of course I had to go out to investigate. So I went down there, unbeknownst to my mom, because once again I was an escape artist, and she locked the door, but I know how to get out. You think she would have put like a deadbolt, like where I couldn't get to it or something, after the incident of me being picked up by the police when I was 3 years old, running naked down the median of Route 40, which is 2 lanes going in either direction. It used to be the main highway up and down the East Coast before Interstate 95 was put in. So I was running naked down the middle of Route 40, Joppa Road, heel to toe on Joppa Road. Yes, Ween fans, indeed I was there. Holding it up for Ween and the Boognish, always. Okay, so, geez, I got so tangented. That was like such a crazy freak of tangent. Okay, so I'm on my front lawn. Have once again escaped my house, and I'm on my front lawn. So I go down to this glimmery thing on the front lawn, and it turns out that it's a spring, a seasonal spring that had bubbled up through the ground and had formed this pool in my front yard, and it was about this big around, and it was about that deep, and it had 3 holes in the bottom, and you could see this clear, crystal clear water just like jetting up through these holes, and they were making the top of the water bubble. And as I stood there looking down into it, I got hypnotized. And as you may remember from previous videos, this is something I did to myself rather frequently as a child. I hypnotize myself and either go out of my body or have a vision or somehow end up like communicating with a supposedly inanimate object, something like that. So I'm looking down into this pool of water, and I fall forward into the water. Now, what I mean by that, my body didn't fall forward. I didn't do a header into the spring. Well, that would have been pretty funny. But I did not. It was my consciousness did a header into that pool of water, and very similar to like Harry Potter falling into the Pensieve and seeing Dumbledore's memories. It was almost exactly the same sort of situation where my consciousness went into this pool of water, and I saw a vision of an incident that had occurred on that precise spot within like 5 feet of where I was standing, approximately like 100 to 150, maybe like 150 to 200 years prior. So what I saw was a field hand named John putting 2 oxen into a field plowing yoke, and my front yard at that time was the field where they kept the oxen that worked in the field, and kind of almost exactly where my house stood behind me was where the cow barns were. I could see all of this. It was all there around me, and the rock wall was very clear and prominent, kind of like off to the side in my vision. And I saw John out there, and he was standing slightly downhill from these 2 yoked oxen, and he was fiddling around with their harnesses, and the oxen closest to him stepped sideways, and the oxen's leg went through the ground almost exactly at the spot where the spring had come up that I was scrying into. And the oxen's leg broke, and that oxen fell onto John, and the other oxen was harnessed in, so the weight of both of those very large animals crushed John to death. And also the bull that broke its leg had to be euthanized. The other bull was cut out and was saved, but John and the bull closest to him did not make it. And so it wasn't like I just saw the incident, I lived it. I experienced what John and the bull experienced. I felt their fear and their pain and what went through their heads before they died. Very different for each one, but kind of similar in sort of like a life recap. And then I felt the peace and the relief leading up to and at the moment of death. So that's what I saw. That was my first scrying. And I remember my consciousness sucking back up into my body. And I'm standing there on my front lawn just like screaming, and my mother comes out and gets me and drags me into the house. And it was one of the first times she used the phrase that I would hear over and over again in my life from her, and that was, "Why do you have to be like this?" Poor mom. She's last of 6 children, just ridiculously psychic and like a wild child and all over the place. It was, upon retrospect, I really feel for my mom. So John actually shows up a little later for me, about a year later in my life. So in between like year 5 and 6 for me, I finally made some real friends, real people, humans. Auntie Angie made human friends. So there was this wonderful family. They had 4 beautiful, amazing, intelligent, kind daughters. And if you guys are out there and you're listening, I love you so much, and thank you so much for making my childhood just so wonderful. It was just the best hanging out with all you guys. I love you. So their dad was a bit intense when it came to yard work, and he would make his girls and any neighborhood children that were within his orbit help him manicure the lawn. And believe me, their lawn was manicured with like tweezers. I mean, not quite like that, but they did have to go and like trim the edge along the street. And I think they had like a 2-acre lot. It was an insane amount of work. I mean, he needed this whole group of children to like help him keep this place as beautiful as it was. So of course I wanted to play with my friends. So of course I was going to help them in the morning do their chores, and then we could go out and we could play later. So this particular day, my friend's dad asked me to go into the smokehouse to retrieve this implement that would allow him to broadcast fertilizer across his grass. So he kept all of his lawn care equipment inside the old smokehouse, which had belonged originally to the mansion. Their property was also abutting the mansion's property like mine was, but theirs was just on a different side. So the smokehouse that once belonged to the mansion now belonged to them. And so I go over to the smokehouse, and smokehouse is also made of the same stone that the stone wall that I told you about, my first best friend in another video. Same rock from the area was used to make this smokehouse, and it had a ton of quartz in it. So I remember opening the latch. It was an old-timey black iron lifting latch, and I looked down because there was like a stone lintel about 6 inches off the ground, and I looked down so I wouldn't trip over it. So I stepped over the lintel and into the smokehouse and hit with this like smell. You felt like you were inside a charcoal briquette, 200 years of, who knows how many 100 years of smoking meat inside there. I mean, the walls were coated with this like black creosote. It was crazy. So hit with the smell, and I'm looking around. My eyes are sweeping around for this implement that my friend's dad needs, and I see like a pair of feet dangling about a foot off the ground, and my eyes pan up, and freaking there's John hanging from a meat hook off the wall. Oh my God, I nearly lost it. I lost it in here. I was screaming in here, but I didn't scream because by that time I had come to realize that all the things that I could see, not everybody else could see. So I'm like screaming inside, and there's John, dead as the day he died, hanging off of a meat hook on the wall. And then I got this dump of information, and the information told me that they had to put him in there after he died so they could prepare, so that they could keep him safe from predators, because they needed to prepare his grave, and they needed to get the right minister, priest to come and do the ceremony. So it would take a few days, and they couldn't just leave his body like out in the field, because at that time there were just too many predators around. So I'm staring at him, and by this time I've seen 2 other ghosts, okay? And I'm going to tell you the story about that, because that's pretty crazy, because at first I didn't know they were ghosts, okay? So I'm trying to get my head around this ghost thing and this live and dead thing, and how they're different, but they're both just like states of being. I still don't know if I completely have my head around it. Probably not. Who does, But what I understood about John was that he was different than the other ghosts that I had interacted with, because I could interact with those other ghosts, and John was not. You couldn't interact with John. He was what some of us now would call a stone tape, or a recording of on a stone tape. So it is believed that rocks with a lot of quartz content, as well as wood and other structures, and even just areas in the land, and can maintain a memory or a recording, a metaphysical, a psychic recording of an intense incident that imprints on the surroundings. And I knew that John that I was looking at was something like that. He wasn't an active ghost that could interact with me or interact with objects. I was seeing a replay of him having been dead and hung from a meat hook. The smokehouse. Now, my friends may or may not remember this, but from that precise moment on, I refused to go in the smokehouse. I did not bring their dad's implement out, and when he asked me why, I just said no, and I just kept saying no, and there's nothing else. I just couldn't. I knew better than to try to explain to him what happened, because I'd seen what happened when I tried to talk to other people about ghosts. It didn't typically go very well. So that was my last day inside the smokehouse. So that's my first incidence of both scrying and having an intense empathic reaction to pain and suffering and dying of other beings. And I am like that to this day, maybe even more so, probably even more so. It's just part of who I am. It's part of my incog weirdness. What can I say? So I want to thank you guys very much for joining me today. I would love it so much if you would share with me your stories. I really would love to know that I'm not the only incog weirdo out there. So if you have any stories at all, any that might have to do with scrying or being empathic, or anything at all, I would love to hear it. Please write them down in the comments, or you could send them to, I have an email. It's just taraIncogweirdo@gmail.com. Nice, easy, simple. Send me your stories there, and we'll read them online. And you can stake your claim here at Tara Incogweirdo and help me populate the map. So thank you again, Guru Agate, for being here. Before I go, for my dearest and most beloved purple mommy, I'm going to do psychic practice, because this is me and purple mommy's thing so far, but me and purple mommy will be happy to play with the rest of you. So what we do here is we're trying to build our psychic muscle, and the only way you can do that is to use it, right? So I'm going to look at something in my environment, and then I'll look at you in the camera, and I'll do that 3 times. And then down in the comments, you got to write what you think I was looking at the time. And guess what? Purple Mommy has tried it 3 times, and she got it right on the 3rd try. I think that's pretty stunning and amazing. Hooray, Purple Mommy, good on you. Okay, so please try. Nobody's going to make fun of you. You're like Tara Incogweirdo, believe me. And Angie's not going to let it happen, okay? My promise to you. All right, so here we go. I'm going to look at something in my environment. I'm going to look at you, and you tell me what it is down in the comment section below. Okay, I am, let's see, I got to pick something. Okay, all right, I'm looking at something. I'm concentrating. I'm looking. Okay, now I'm sending it to you. What was I looking at? What was I looking at? Okay, one more time. And I'm saying it over and over. Louder and louder. Okay, now I'm going to yell it at you. You ready? Sorry, I'm yelling. Can you see it? What is it? Don't look in the reflection of my glasses. It's cheating. Okay, one more time. And back to you. Okay, all right. Let me know. Let me and Buckethead know what you think I was looking at. All right, Incogweirdos, thanks for being with me today, me and Buckethead. Take care. I love you all very much. And if somebody calls you a weirdo, what do? You say thank you, or you say go to my agate, or, kick them in the boot, whatever you need to do. Just don't put your tail between your legs and run away, because Incogweirdos rule! Yes! Okay, so thanks again for being here. I love you guys very much, and I will